Hey, what's up, Angels fans, and welcome back to another edition of Angels Latest, the show where we talk Halos baseball the same way we do with our buddies. We're a little hopeful, a little frustrated, but we're always locked in, and we're always believing that brighter days are still ahead at the Big A. And hey, listen, the last few days, they've been, well, a roller coaster, and we saw some movement, then there was some quietness because this Angels off season again started hot, early moves, early momentum, and then suddenly everything just stopped. We slammed on the brakes. And we were now watching the winter meetings, watching names flying off the free agency board and deal after deal after deal being made. And it just felt like the Angels went from being players to being spectators. And then the gut punch. Our guy, our closer, Kenley Jansen. Seeing Kenley sign with the Detroit Tigers on a deal that honestly felt that something the Angels could have matched, especially for a guy who said he wanted to stay with the Angels. I mean, that one stung. It felt like another moment where hope just slipped away a little further. But hey, Angels fans, just when it felt like the hot stove had just gone cold, put our hand on it and we felt some warmth and even a little burn, and our hopes and dreams of adding real winning pieces were starting to fade. But then that movement, finally, the Angels made a move. Drew Pomerantz and Jordan Romano, two veteran bullpen arms, two experienced players, and two signings that tell us something important, and that the Angels aren't sitting this offseason out. No. Is this a championship parade? Probably not, but it is a signal, absolutely. Because once the Angels started moving again, the door cracked back open, and suddenly that hope, it's alive again. So if you're new to the show, welcome. My name is Anthony, and I'm your host, and this is where we bring real talk, real analysis. We talk about real passion for our Los Angeles Angels and things that we would like to see. So settle in, grab that holiday coffee, cocoa, or eggnog, take a deep breath, and let's get focused and get into it. All right, let's kick things off with our first name on the free agency board wish list. And Angels fans, this one. This is a very Angels type target player, and that is Nick Martinez. Now, if that name doesn't immediately jump off the screen to you, and that's kind of the point, because Nick Martinez isn't a flashy name. He's not a headline grabbing kind of guy, and he's not coming in pretending to be your ace. But what he is exactly what this Angels pitching staff has been missing, and that's stability, innings, and professional reliability. All right, so let's rewind for a second. We'll push it rewind on the remote here. Nick Martinez is a right-handed pitcher, 35 years old, and drafted way back in the 18th round by the Texas Rangers. And early on, he was a rotation guy. Not dominant, but dependable. The other important D. He bounced between starting and relieving, but he ate innings. And he showed solid control, even if the strikeout numbers never really popped. And then something important happened. Martinez didn't just fade out of the league. Nope. He reinvented himself. He went to Japan, the NPB. And Angels fans, this wasn't a vacation for him. He dominated. Excuse me. And in Japan, his command sharpened. His sequencing improved, and his confidence came roaring back. Now, that stint shaped him as a pitcher. So when Nick Martinez came back to MLB with the Padres, he wasn't the same guy. Now with San Diego, excuse me, he became one of the most versatile arms on the staff. Starter, yes. Long reliever, yes. High leverage innings, you betcha. And the results? Consistently solid ERAs. Strong command, and a manager's dream when it came to role flexibility. Then comes Cincinnati. And with the Reds, Martinez did exactly what teams hoped he would do. He took the baseball every time. He logged innings, stayed durable, and even in 2025, when the ERA ticked up a bit, the availability never wavered. And remember, this is a guy who came 3 outs away from a no-hitter. I mean, that's not just luck. That is execution. Now let's talk about how he pitches, because this matters for us Angels fans. Nick Martinez doesn't overpower you. He outthinks you. He throws 6 pitches. He throws a four-seamer, a sinker, a cutter, changeup, slider, and curveball. He lives in the low 90s, moves the ball really well, knows how to change speeds, and keeps hitters guessing. And this is pitchability, not radar gun baseball. And now, let's bring this home to Anaheim. Why does Nick Martinez make sense for the Angels? Well, because the Angels don't need another boom or bust arm. They need someone who can be a number 4 or even a number 5 starter. Someone who won't implode on them. Someone who can protect the bullpen and who can slide into different roles if the injuries hit. And that is Martinez. And Angel Stadium, it plays to his strengths. He limits walks, manages contact, and doesn't rely on chasing strikeouts at all costs. And here's the part that lines up perfectly with Perry Manasian's comments. Upside. Martinez isn't upside because he's going to suddenly become an ace. Nope. He's upside because he gives you more value than his contract. He gives you innings, flexibility, and reliability. And this is all done without locking the team into a long-term risk. So what does a contract look like? Realistically, 2 years, somewhere between $18 to $22 million, and incentives for innings. Low drama, high usefulness. This is the kind of move that doesn't win the offseason, but it helps you win weeks during the season. So Angels fans, Nick Martinez isn't the savior, but he is a stabilizer. And if the Angels are serious about building a pitching staff that actually survives a full season, well, then this is exactly the type of arm you're going to want to bring in. And that brings us to our next name. One with a little more intrigue, a little more reinvention, and maybe even a higher ceiling. We're talking about Erick Fedde. All right, Angels fans, Erick Fedde, because this guy is a very different kind of story. Erick Fedde is a name that might sound familiar to you, but you're not quite sure why. And that's because Erick Fedde might be one of the most fascinating pitching reinvention stories in Major League Baseball right now. That's right. So let's start at the beginning. So Erick Fedde, former first-round pick, 18th overall, out of UNLV, big right-hander, 6'4", 220 plus, and he came into pro baseball as a legit college ace. And then Tommy John surgery. Now it slowed the timeline, changed the path, but eventually Fedde reached the majors with the Washington Nationals. And for a while, he was fine. He took the ball. He ate innings. But the results, up and then down. Fastball was hittable. The command wavered. And pitching on rebuilding teams, it magnified every flaw. By the end of his Nationals run, Fedde looked like a guy headed toward fringe MLB status. And then, well, instead of hanging on, he did something bold. He left. Yeah, he went to Korea. KBO. And Angels fans, this is where everything changed. In 2023, Erick Fedde didn't just pitch well. The guy dominated. 20 wins, 6 losses, and a 2.00 ERA. Over 200 strikeouts. And not just dominance. Historic dominance. KBO MVP. Pitching triple crown. And again, that's not hype. That's hardware. But here's the key. This wasn't smoke and mirrors. Fedde rebuilt his game. Let's talk about, the pitch usage, sequencing, confidence, and most importantly, he developed a true out pitch, the splitter. So when Erick Fedde came back to Major League Baseball, this wasn't the same pitcher who left. Now, with the Chicago White Sox, he proved it. Sub-4 ERA, strong ground ball rates, efficient innings, and on a team that, well, let's be honest, did him no favors at all. He showed that the KBO breakout was real. Now let's talk about how Erick Fedde pitches, because this is where the Angels fit gets interesting. Fedde is a movement guy. It's a sinker, cutter, slider, curveball, and of course that splitter. That's the separator. Low 90s velocity, but heavy. He lives at the bottom of the zone, so he forces contact. And when hitters get aggressive, he drops the splitter. This is modern pitching. Not overpowering, not gimmicky, efficient. So why does Erick Fedde make sense for the Angels? Because this team needs more than survival innings. The Halos need someone who can slot in as a real number 3 or number 4 starter. And they need someone who can keep them in the games. Navigate lineups multiple times and not unravel in the 4th or 5th inning. And that's Fedde. And Angel Stadium, it plays right into his profile. Ground balls, limited damage, and he's not living on the margins of home run suppression. He's built to manage contact. And here's where this ties directly back to Perry Manasian's comments. Upside. Fedde is upside with proof. He already reinvented himself, dominated internationally, and then validated it when he came back into the MLB. Now, this isn't projection. This is translation. So what does a contract possibly look like? And this is where Fedde separates himself there from Martinez. You're probably looking at 3 years, 30 or 36 to 45 million, 12 to 15 per year. Definitely incentives, possibly maybe an option, but still very manageable and very tradable. So Angels fans, Erick Fedde isn't a gamble. He's a calculated bet. A pitcher who knows who he is, knows how to adjust, and knows how to compete. And if the Angels are serious about building a rotation that doesn't just exist, well then, it actually supports a winning season, and this move does that. This is the type of arm you invest in. And now with Martinez and Fedde on the table, the real question becomes, which direction do the Angels lean in? Do we want safety or the upside? All right, Angels fans, now let's zoom out for a second, pull away out, because everything we just talked about, right? Nick Martinez, Erick Fedde, the bullpen moves, all of it, it all connects. And that brings us to the bigger picture. And that's General Manager Perry Minasian. And what he's really telling us about how the Angels are, how they're building this team. And recently, Perry Minasian spoke to Yahoo Sports. And one word kept coming up over and over again. We've been mentioning it. We'll all say it together. Upside. And Halos fans, that word really matters. Because upside isn't just a buzzword. It's a philosophy. A way of thinking of the sport. And according to Minasian, the Angels aren't just trying to add bodies. They are trying to add impact. They're looking for players who can outperform their contracts. Players who still have something left, well, and who can give you more than what's printed on the back of the baseball card. So that explains the bullpen moves. Jordan Romano, Drew Pomerantz. Are they perfect? No. But they do offer upside. And absolutely, Romano, proven closer, high leverage experience, and still capable of being a difference maker late in the games. Pomerantz, health questions, sure. But when right, a nasty left-handed arm. Now, these aren't safe signings. They're calculated ones. And that tells us something important, that the Angels know exactly where their biggest weaknesses have and has been. And that is, we'll all say it together, not only pitching, but the bullpen, late innings, leads slipping away. That all sound familiar? And Minasian, made it clear. This bullpen isn't finished yet. They're still looking. They're still evaluating. That's not accidental. That is intentional. But here's where things get really interesting. Minasian isn't just talking about relievers. He's talking about how the Angels want to spend their money as well. This isn't about locking into long, risky contracts. Sound familiar too, right? Or chasing name recognition. Yeah, all too familiar. It's about flexibility, value, and optionality. And suddenly, Nick Martinez makes sense. A guy who gives you innings, multiple roles, and, best of all, stability. And Erick Fedde, even more so. A pitcher with an upside and proof. He already reinvented himself, and he still fits within a controlled financial window. I mean, this is, what the Angels are saying. We're not rebuilding, but we're not reckless either. I mean, they want to compete. They want to compete without trapping themselves. And they want players who can help now and still make sense a year or two from now. But let's be honest. There's risks, of course. Upside means variance. And if too many of these bets don't hit, yeah, you feel it. But on the flip side, if even a few of these moves click, man, the Angels suddenly look a lot more competitive. And that's the line Minasian is walking. I mean, this Yahoo Sports article wasn't just reporting quotes. It was revealing the blueprint. Bet on upside, address weaknesses, protect flexibility, and most importantly, don't sit still. So Angels fans, this offseason, it's not over. The bullpen moves were a signal, not a finish line. And when you connect the dots, you can see exactly where this is heading. Excuse me. So, all right, Angels fans, it's that time. My favorite part. Let's jump into your comments because you guys, again, once brought the thoughts after the last episode. And honestly, this is what makes this show special. Our first one comes from at MVP underscore G underscore 24. It says, you give us hope. And honestly, thank you, man. That comment means more than you probably realize. Because after a few quiet days, after watching our boy Kenley Jansen take a ride down to Motown, and after feeling like the Angels hit pause again, seeing movement, Romano, Pomerantz, that matters. Not because it fixes everything, but it tells us again that the Angels are still trying. And when there's effort, well, there's hope. And yeah, a winning season in 2026, it's still possible. All right, next up is at SCHalo1. He says, I swear I feel like I'm roasting marshmallows around a campfire listening to this show daily, but I keep coming back. All right, that one made me laugh just like right now. Because honestly, man, that might be the perfect description of this show. We're all sitting around the campfire talking Angels baseball, sharing our frustrations, sharing our hopes, laughing through the pain a little bit, but we're still showing up. And that's Angels fandom in a nutshell, right? So, yeah, grab another marshmallow, my friend, pull up a chair, the fire's hot, because this offseason story is not done yet. All right, this next one comes from Gene Oliver 4861, and this is a real Angels fan perspective. Gene says, longtime Angel fan, never seen the organization this low. Feels like hopium, asking a lot for Maddox to fix health. Romano's had 2 rough ERA seasons, and I vote Kenley Jansen over Jordan Romano. And first off, I hear you, Gene. That frustration, that skepticism, that's earned. Coming from a Halos fan, from the mid-'80s all the way till now. And a lot of Angels fans feel exactly the same way. And you're absolutely right, brother. Romano has had recent struggles, yes. The Angels are asking a lot of, the pitching staff and the training staff. And, yeah, you're right, Maddox. That's all fair criticism. But here's the context. Voting Kenley Jansen over Romano? I get it. I do. I really do. Kenley gave this team stability, credibility, and calm in the 9th. Seeing him walk, that one hurt. It still hurts. But the Angels didn't try to replace Kenley with the same guy. They pivoted. Romano isn't here to be Kenley. He's a different bet. More risk? Yeah, he definitely is. But also more upside. And that ties exactly into what Perry Manasian has been saying. And we talked about it, about the Yahoo article. This front office is betting on upside. That doesn't guarantee success, but it does tell us this. These moves, they're not random. And one more thing. This bullpen, it's not finished yet. So skepticism, totally fair, Gene. But hope, still justified. Because at least now, the Angels are moving again. And that's why I love this part of the show. Because the hope, the frustration, the humor, and honest debate, that's Angels fandom. So keep the comments coming. Keep the conversations going. Because this offseason, we're riding it together. It's that roller coaster. And that's going to do it for this episode of Angels Latest, my friends. And man, once again, we covered a lot today. We kicked things off by talking about something Angels fans have been waiting to see. And that's movement. After a few quiet days, after watching Kenley Jansen walk, the Angels finally got back into the offseason action. And with the signings of Drew Pomerantz and Jordan Romano, we talked about what those bullpen moves actually mean. And not just on paper, but in the context of a bullpen. I mean, that let way too many games slip away last season. Then we zoomed out, right? Then we started looking ahead. We broke down Nick Martinez, his innings, the versatility, the reliability, and why stability matters just as much as upside when you're building a rotation that has to survive 162. Then we shifted gears to Erick Fedde, the reinvention story, a great story, the KBO dominance, the validated return to MLB, and why his profile just might fit Angel Stadium and this moment in time almost perfectly. And then we tied it all together. We talked about General Manager Perry Minasian and what he's really telling us about how the Angels are trying to build this team. Upside over safety. Flexibility over long-term risk. And a front office that is trying to compete without trapping itself. And Angels fans, you showed up in the comments once again. Hope, frustration, humor, and honest debate. From believing again to roasting marshmallows around the campfire to the real skepticism about hopium and bullpen risk. I mean, that's Angels fandom for you. And that's why this show works. So now, it's your turn. What do you think about the direction of this offseason? Do you like betting on upside? Or is it just a word you're tired of hearing? Or do you want more certainty? Do Martinez or Fedde move the needle for you? And how confident are you in this bullpen right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to see your takes, your debates, your predictions, because you already know I love featuring your comments right here on the show, and I read each and every one of them. So, as always, we're all Angels fans here, talking baseball respectfully, honestly, with a little humor as well, but always with the big picture in mind. So, that is building a winning team. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting, and thank you for being part of this growing Angels Latest community. You guys bring the energy, the engagement, the conversation. That's all because of you. So I'll keep showing up, breaking down the moves, tracking the rumors, providing some ideas of what I'd like to see. Maybe you agree or disagree. That's where I love to hear from you. And we're all riding every twist and turn of this off season together. So don't forget, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on the notifications so you never miss a new episode. All right, Angels fans, thanks for watching. From the bottom of my heart, thanks for commenting. And thank you again for being part of this Angels Latest community / family. And as always, go Halos!